All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, ladies, on Women Owned Listed, the podcast. Today, we are going to get encouraged, motivated, and pumped up. We have Andrea Brunswick in today to help us with that a little bit. Hey, Andrea, how's it going?
Hey Clary, it's great. How's it going with you?
Doing good, doing good. Well, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we do need a little bit of life strategy. Sometimes we need a little bit of that person to be there to help us get through and give us that push. So, Andrea, your business is kind of all about that. Can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Absolutely. So I've been coaching. I first got certified in 2004. So that kind of tells me how old I am. Yeah, a long time. And, funny, Clary, because in all honesty, for a long time, I didn't really see myself as a business owner. I only saw myself as a life coach. And of course, the whole buzz back then was build a brand, which I didn't even understand what that meant. You mean brand? I don't understand what you're talking about. So it's been a roller coaster ride for me, and exactly what you said about as entrepreneurs, we often need that life strategies because I don't care, your life goes with you.
Right.
And in this industry, and in most industries that are online, we are our business. So if we are our business, our mindset is going to go where we go. And not so good mindset starts to be really prevalent in the building of a business. So
Absolutely.
I'm here. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs because I understand that landscape. I get it, but really I work with women who have been, or I guess, just for lack of a better word, who are in a transition in their life. Either they've, come out of a divorce or they're moving forward from the loss of a spouse. But there's all of the stuff that is kind of in between all of that. And you partner with me so that I'm here to facilitate you through this process of change because women are coming to me because they may not recognize that there's things within themselves that need to change, but they know that something in their life needs to change. I'm not sure if that makes sense in what I'm saying to you.
Absolutely, it does. I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this. As women, our lives are just more complex anyway because, we got more body parts and more things and more stuff. And so we need sometimes that little bit of guidance and help. So tell me, Andrea, let's say, the women listening today are the client and they're coming to you for services. What does a sit down session with Andrea look like?
So initially, and I'm really glad, thank you for asking that because I really do offer what I call a breakthrough session. And it's
Mm.
not a discovery session where you're going to see how I work. It's an actual session for 30 minutes with you because there has to be a relatability. It has to be where the client can relate to me. The coach, yes, to a minor degree, needs to be able to relate to their client. So you're going to sit down with me and we're going to do a little bit of background because there's usually, I would say, one or two main obstacles that are standing, presenting like that, those pitfalls for us. Now, I will tell you, to be truthful, that pitfall and those obstacles are usually in between your two ears. And it's what takes place up in your head and all of those, those beliefs. Because listen, what's a belief? It's just a thought that you've thought over and over and over again, and then it gets anchored into us. So when we start to really take a look and pull back layers, often we discover this has happened to me. If it's happened to me, it's going to happen to you, and it's happened to a number of my clients. We start to take a look because I have you looking at it. Whose belief is that? Is that your own belief? Was that a belief that you grew up in? Is that a generational belief throughout your family? Is that a societal belief? Like, where is that belief coming from? And sometimes, people will describe who they are, but, that's just me or that's just my personality. But no, that isn't always the case. So we're going to take a look at what are the two main obstacles. Then we need to untangle that. And we're going to really dive into what is it that you want? And again, it sounds simple, right? But often it's not, because then you start discovering, do I really want that? I mean, even myself for my business. As I said, I started in 2004. When I was mapping out my business, say the first 7 years, I wanted certain things. Does that mean now at 62? If that had manifested, is that what I want now? I have to take a look at that. Do I want that, or am I saying, geez, this is what I want in my business only because, like in 2010, Andrea said this is where she wanted.
I'm sorry to interrupt here, but we've got something important to say. At womenownedlisted.com, our mission is to empower and uplift women entrepreneurs by providing a dynamic platform to showcase and connect their businesses to a broader audience. We are committed to fostering a community of support. We aim to create a lasting network where women entrepreneurs can succeed and inspire the next generation of business leaders. Are you a woman entrepreneur looking to elevate your business? Join womenownedlisted.com today. List your business and join over 800 female business owners who are strengthening their presence by joining our platform. Share your story and expertise with our audience by being interviewed on our podcast. Let's amplify your voice and inspire others. Hit the like button, subscribe on podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, join our mailing list, and get your business listed now to take the next steps in pushing your business forward.
To be in her business. Make sense?
Absolutely.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, definitely. So it sounds like, the ladies are going to get some one-on-one actual coaching from you to
Yeah.
help them really get grounded in their own beliefs, and those beliefs are really going to be what's going to help to push them forward. I think that's a very important work that you're doing, and I feel like for entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, we need that because again, it's very easy, I should say, to get lost in your own thoughts. Where do I begin? We deal with a lot of rejection, a lot of failure. Oh my, I thought my
Right.
business would be farther along than what it is by now. And it can just get very, very, depressing. Now, can you share with
And
us?
toxic. It becomes toxic, Clary, and we start to do comparing of our, especially within a similar industry. We start to look at what our competitor. We need to do our market research, but often the market research can be really counterproductive.
I agree. Thank you for saying that. Even with some of the larger, corporations, we've all had our desk jobs at, the different corporations. And one thing that they do so much is copying their competition. And it always drove me absolutely insane. I'm like, how about just come up with unique ideas? The Facebook CEO is notorious for that. The minute TikTok came out, it was let's change the entire thing that's made us successful and copy what our competition is doing. You forgot about what made you successful. And now you've lost, the attention of millions of users because you wanted to go and copy, what TikTok was doing. And so I agree 100%. You got to pay attention to what makes you great. Stay in your lane. If other people, are in your industry and doing better, good for them. Focus on you. Don't copy them. Find a new way. Do your own thing. Do something innovative, different, better, whatever it is. Thank you so much for that. Now, can you share with us, without getting too personal, or anything, could you share with us maybe one of your biggest successes, you've had in coaching some of the lovely ladies that you had the pleasure of coaching?
Well, recently, actually, this is really a new part, and I'm putting this in my business model for 2025 and moving forward. I did a collaboration with a business coach, even for myself. I always thought it was systems and strategies that I was lacking. So I cannot begin to tell you the probably, I would say at least over the period of time, well over 15,000, I feel like I flushed down the toilet because I hired the wrong business coach to be coaching me, right? Because I take people at face value. And I didn't understand the game online that you could, even though I in the past had used copywriters for my own things that I needed. But people can have, and now with this chat GPT, like, come on, you really, which is great. And I'm so glad that I lowered my own resistance to using it. But my point is this, is I want everybody to know that you have the right to interview your coach. Don't ever feel intimidated. And you need to ask questions because you need to make sure you're working with the right one. That all being said, Clary, I connected with a woman. She's a business coach of branding, and she's in South Africa, and she's doing a group program. And we were having a conversation, and I said, but what about the mindset part of this? And
Mm.
she said, you know what, you're right. So she brought me in to coach her group
Mm.
once a week on mindset. And I'm going to tell you, I think right now, that is one of the big successes for my business because it took me out of my, like, out of myself, out of my own business
Mhm.
and brought me in front of another person's audience. And that's really big, right? And that's what we do on social media. And that's why I'm here, right? Because I'm, in front of your audience. So that's why we post in our stories and we'll mention whomever it is, right? Because it is about other people's audiences. But in terms of my client successes, transformation was always something that I loved. That I love to be a witness. I mean, what a blessing, right? When you get to witness somebody in their transformation. So seeing the women transform, seeing them understanding of how they have contributed and contaminated to the mess of their own life, because I don't care, Clary. We all like to do the blame game. I
Mm.
don't have enough money for my business, or I don't have the time because I'm raising my children, or I don't have the time because I'm a wife and a mother, and I just, we like to make the excuses. So when that client, without beating the crap out of herself, just finally gets it, and it's
Mm.
like, now I understand the role I play. Because the role you play, listen, I don't know if you ever heard of Millionaire Mind Intensive, and it was a
Sounds
book, Tivler
familiar.
Becker. Yeah. So a long, long time ago now, Clary, I went here in Toronto. There was like a 4 or 5 day event, and I went to it. And I'll never forget the first day. And I think it's T. Harv Eker. I think this is his saying, how I do one thing is how I do everything. And it was like,
Mm.
man,
Wow.
that just like, boom, I could have had a V8. And I thought, you know what? It is so true. So I have to take a look at my own how I do one thing is how I do everything. And how I used to compare myself when my husband was alive, compare my husband to other friends' husbands, compare his income to other people's income, compare my marriage to other people's marriage, compare my parenting to, and then when I got into the entrepreneurial landscape, I started comparing myself as a coach to other coaches, to their business models, and I just felt like I was just dealing with all of, I don't have this. They have that, but
Mhm.
I don't have this, you see. That person's husband earns more than my husband earns. That person's a better mother. Right? How I do one thing is how I do everything. So when my
Mm.
clients really get that and take accountability and are willing, because you have to really be willing, you have to acknowledge, because what you do not acknowledge, you cannot change.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you said something in there that jogged a point in my mind. And I noticed this from, going to networking groups and working with women and stuff like that. Sometimes as women, and I think this comes basically from what you're saying, we are always comparing. So sometimes when we're in the networking group, if we see someone and we feel like they've got it together and we don't, do we want to attach ourselves to that person because we really want to just simply make the network and grow our business? Or are we attaching ourselves to them because we just want to copy and steal everything that makes them unique? And that is what I've become over the years very strategic with how I do my business, because I noticed that, and I think it comes from that whole idea of they're better. I want to do exactly what they're doing, which isn't true. We all have a lane and a place, and we can all be successful. But that's just something that I've started sharing with women who are in business, is when you go to these events or you're in the office or whatever the scenario is, don't be a copycat. Just like we were talking about with, this Facebook CEO. If you like that person, you like their business ethic, just do business with them. Ask them, hey, would you like to come and speak at my event? Ask them, hey, would you like to, like your your person was able to do with you. They invited you to simply do business. But I think where the lines get blurred and where a lot of female entrepreneurs get their feelings hurt is they think that somehow making a friend, saying, oh, well, just come over to my house for dinner, or let's go shopping together. And then somehow that's going to morph into this, you getting what they have, or being them. It's like, no, just do business together. Don't
I
act
know. I think
like,
sometimes we think it's going to rub off on us.
yeah,
Well, like, oh, if I touch them, their blessings are going to rub off on me. Their success is going to rub off on me.
right.
And I think that's why mentorship has increased. And really, that's what your mentor is supposed to do, right?
Hmm.
You want to emanate a lot of things that the mentor has done. They've gone out ahead of you and they've already succeeded. And it is a good thing, but you said it, the lines get blurred and then we start shifting lanes. And I think if I could just add to that, it's about that shiny object syndrome,
Right.
right? Especially in the digital landscape. I mean, it's ridiculous,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. Well, I'm so encouraged by, the way that you're encouraging, your group. I'm happy for the connections you've been able to make. Now let's switch gears just a little bit and talk just for, the last few minutes here about any tips. So, of course, this is a women's business podcast, and we always want to give the ladies at least one good takeaway for what they could do to move their businesses forward from a coaching perspective. So if you were talking to other business coaches out there, what would your number one tip be, do you think?
Okay, I hope I can keep it to one. Um, okay, so I talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about being aware of comparisons. I call it comparisonitis. That's the term I use.
I like that.
Entrepreneurship is not for the faint at heart. You've really got to be able to stay in the game. And it's going to push you. And it's going to scare you.
Mm-hmm.
So I really encourage, first of all, I encourage somebody to get themselves a coach, a really good business coach. Stop trying to do this alone. Especially, like I'm a life coach. It's a solo, sure, I outsource and I'll hire a VA. But if I'm not coaching with a client, it could be really lonely, right? Doing my content creating, doing all of that. So I say hire yourself a coach, a really good coach, and get yourself a life coach. Because the two are very different. Because all of that stuff, and usually the stuff from childhood, and all of those insecurities, and the lack of self-worth is going to be pushed. And it's going to push you. And then the lies are going to come into your head, and it's going to make you feel like you cannot do this. When in actuality, you can, but you have to have skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You need to stick at it. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And don't be afraid or feel embarrassed, maybe is a better word, to be vulnerable and to show up with that truth. Because what I've really found is if something is within me, if these crazy limiting thoughts are in me, they're in other women as well. They're in other entrepreneurs as well. But we're all just hiding it because clearly we think we're supposed to show up perfect. Like we've got it all figured out when we
Mm-hmm.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't. So I say get a business coach, get a life coach, and ask for help.
I love
I
that.
know you asked me for one thing, but I knew I couldn't stick to
We
one thing
like
first.
extras. We like extras. Extras are good. Well, hey, Andrea, I want to thank you so much for being here today. Before we sign off, can you tell the ladies where they can find you?
For sure. I'm at the usual suspects on social media.
Hmm.
Now on Facebook, it's Andrea Julia Brunswick.
Okay.
On my Instagram and on my LinkedIn, it's Andrea Brunswick. So you can find me on all three platforms. Please DM me. I'm going to send you my links and I'll send you the link. So if anybody wants to sign up for that 30-minute breakthrough session with me, I would love that. And remember, ladies, this is about you, that 30 minutes. It's not about me. So you're going to bring an issue, you're going to bring a topic, a challenge, and we're going to really start to untangle the knots of those roots, okay? And you can always email me at AndreaJuliaBrunswick@gmail.com.
Beautiful. All right, Andrea, I want to thank you so much again for being here today. Thank you, ladies, for listening to Women Own Listed, the podcast, and have a great day.